Welcome, everyone. Thanks for being here on a Mexican Crossing Lines with your hosts, Cindy Gomez-Schempp.
And Duke Gomez-Schempp.
You are listening to 88.1 FM, KPPPLP Fargo Moorhead, where we are adding local color to your airwaves. We're broadcasting here in the Fargo Moorhead metro area, but we have listeners and viewers that follow us on our Facebook Lives on social media, that follow us on Twitter, that watch us on YouTube, and they are all over the country and all over the world. And we welcome them to this show as well on the Tohono O'odham tribe. It's a very interesting show on how they connect to the Border Support Network and the activists in the Border Support Network and the smuggling that is pouring over our borders of drugs, of humans, and other things. We'll be talking about all of that tonight. Here on a Mexican Crossing Lines, I'm going to be covering some text messages I got a long time ago from a fellow who had been talking to Myron Dewey about the Tohono O'odham, and he wanted me to know that they were a possible source of a possible place where people would be going through that reservation. At the time, I didn't know anything about them. I hadn't heard of how they were involved with the Border Support Network, but now I know more, and I'm going to be bringing you all of that. I'll be sharing those texts with you, which include Myron Dewey and a person named Jess Wagers, as well as how the Tohono are a place, the tribe, the reservation land is a place and has been a place for illegal border crossings of people and things, and that the tribe itself has found itself in hot water on more than a number of occasions because of drug smuggling and human smuggling operations happening in tandem with reservation members. A stark report from ABC News on the Tohono O'odham and the crime that takes place there is very eye-opening. This is a tribe that has people that live on both sides of the border, and we'll hear more about how that plays into the proximity to the Sinaloa cartel that the members of this tribe are constantly in contact with and are constantly being propositioned by to commit crimes for them. This is a very poor tribe, but it is the tribe that has the third largest land mass, the third largest reservation territory, and it's on the border. So they play a very important role. They're not just connected. They're not just the locus right now of all of this smuggling and trafficking of people and pouring of people over the border. They are also featured in articles in The Intercept where people have been getting arrested in this area for being escorts, in air quotes, I say. We talked about caravan escorts in previous shows and how they were connected to the people of Pueblos Sin Fronteras, Al Otro Lado, and all these other groups. They're also connected to the Tohono O'odham tribe. And we will talk to you about the other Intercept articles talking about the asylum border humanitarian aid. And this article focuses on Sonoita, Mexico, the border with Lukesville, Arizona, where so much of this is taking place. So much of this activity where you will learn that Pueblos Sin Fronteras Irineo Mujica has his transportation over the border service that he is doing right now instead of, he said to Univision, instead of helping the caravans. And of course, you know he's connected to Pueblos Sin Fronteras. We'll look at some of Alex Mensing, another one of the key members in that group's posts that connects back to the lands of the Tohono O'odham with regard to the arrest and the now charges pending lengthy prison time for Mr. Scott Warren of the organization No More Deaths. Incidentally, they also have a lot of their volunteers on the reservation lands of the Tohono O'odham, and that's one of the places Scott Warren, a professor, was teaching. And we will also talk about how all of these folks in the Tohono O'odham connect back to the Border Support Network, including its founders, Evan Duke, Myron Dewey, and the people then in the media that are supporting this, that are promoting and propagandizing about how the Tohono sovereignty rights are being damaged here, and of course uh, the volunteers involved in this humanitarian work. They're just giving people water. They have nothing to do with the sophisticated drug and people smuggling operation that goes on there. But that's actually what they're being accused of being part of this very sophisticated network. And I will also show you how this has been promoted by the people that are currently at the Carrizo Come Crudo camp, like the drone pilot, and how this connects back to the people promoting fake shaman, like Jim Greywolf Peruzzi and the Pipeline Protectors page with Doug McLean, and how those folks also promote the Tohono O'odham. They're all working together to make sure that this tribe is promoted in a specific way, and you need to know how, and you need to know why. All of that will be coming up on today's show here on A Mexican Crossing Lines. But before that, I want to thank all of you who sent me the article, the information, and who have helped me to crowdsource information about what's happening in Mexico and with regard to our border right now. Also, I want to thank you guys for all of your support. Duke and I are working very diligently to try to bring you the latest reporting about what's happening on the border. Your support, your donations go a long way to allowing us to do that. Duke, tell them how they can support our work.
Yes, and we actually got a donation today.
You did?
But the person didn't tell me if I could put the person's name on in. So I'm not going to say who it was, but if you
Thank you.
Thank you very much, person who donated to us. One letter and name is J. Okay?
Okay.
So, that's all I can say. However, if you'd like to donate to us, please do. And if you want your name mentioned on the air, please let us know. And I also have something going locally where I'll put donations on the air, weekly donations on the air, so people in the community can hear your name. So if you'd like to donate to us, please do that. It's tax deductible. I'll tell you how to do that in just a little bit. If you want to contact us, you can contact us through a message line. Leave a voice message for us. It's 701-566-0917. Again, that's 701-566-0917. You can also tweet us at media_PPP. You can email Cindy at kpppfm.com or me, Duke, at kpppfm.com. You can follow us on Facebook at 88.1 FM Fargo Moorhead, the People's Press Project, and Mexi-Can. Those are two of our other Facebook sites that we maintain. You can also find a public page of Cindy's at Cindy Goes Schempp. Now, if you go to our website at kpppfm.com, that's where we're putting our audio files. That a lot of times we'll change them to put them on the air locally. We have to break them up a little bit and put some station IDs in. I put those files up, and then also we put our videos up on kpppfm.com. Just go to the website and go to A Mexican Crossing Lines and look for the most recent shows, and that way you don't have to be on Facebook, and you can just listen to the audio if you don't want to watch the video, and you can see the high-definition video that we upload to YouTube. Now, if you would like to subscribe to our YouTube channel, I really wish you would. Go to Duke1517 on YouTube, or just Duke Gomez-Schempp. It's under both of those names. But that channel we're trying to build to 1,000 subscribers, then we can do some YouTube live streaming, and maybe someone do me a favor. I've read in some of the Facebook documents that you can't multi-stream to YouTube and to Facebook at the same time, but those are 2 years old, and I can't find anything recent. So I'd like to know if we can do that. If not, we'll be just streaming to YouTube by itself, be streaming to Facebook by itself. But when you go to kpppfm.com, just look over what we're doing. And if you'd like to participate and support us, please go to kpppfm.com/donate. Make a tax-deductible donation to our organization. It helps us run everything. We have monthly costs, and we are a nonprofit organization. We are surviving on a shoestring budget, And, every penny helps us pay the bills and keeps us on the air locally. We broadcast to, close to 200,000 people in the Fargo-Moorhead community. And, we're building an audience also through Facebook, through some national connections in Facebook all over the country. And we really appreciate all the people who are supporting us, listening to us, watching us. And the radio station has been being kept alive for almost 3 years now because of support from viewers and listeners like you. And I'd like to thank you.
And believe me, there's a lot of people who would like us to shut up about this, who do not want to listen to our reporting or our evidence of what's really going on at our southern border because it doesn't fit their narrative, because it exposes the ugliness of what they're involved with, who they're involved with, because it lays bare the fact that many of these people, many of them, in fact, with good intentions, involved themselves with some really horrible people, criminal people that were committing crimes, that were doing horrible things. And it was hard for them to believe it. And it was hard for them to believe it because we lie to ourselves to a great degree about what we know and what we think we know about any kind of issue, whether it's Native American sovereignty or the security at our border or immigration. I mean, most of us think we're pretty smart, right? I mean, most of us think that we know at least a little bit enough about the topic to know, but we don't many times. Not in truth. We don't many times. And we're too egotistical to go and learn about it, or maybe we're too lazy as Americans. I don't know. And especially when it has to do with something that we're not too familiar with, like Mexico, because they speak another language, or tribes in the United States, because we don't learn enough about them. So it's easy to kind of pull the wool over Americans' eyes because they don't have the knowledge to intelligently decide if something that they're hearing or seeing in the news holds water or makes sense. As the Mexican crossing lines, when I started to report on the activists that were involving themselves in the organization and funding and support of these caravans, I became alarmed and very upset. The people of Mexico also became very alarmed and very upset because what they saw happening in their own country was something that was unheard of, unseen. And this is a place that sees migration constantly. But this they knew was not correct. It was not right. It was inorganic, and somebody had their own reasons for doing it. And you know what? I listen to the people of Mexico because as a Mexican myself, I can understand them. One, I have a lot of relatives and family in Mexico, and I trust them. And I listened to a lot of the news all throughout the country, not just in one place. And I believed what they said to me. I still believe the reports that they're sending out. And the American people may not understand that, and they refuse to believe. So, and our American media is doing a poor job of reporting to you in a thorough way what's really going on in Mexico. I mean, I don't even know if they're doing a very good job of reporting what's happening inside of the United States, to be honest with you. I think, again, people's preconceived notions, prejudices, and ideas precede their reporting or even cloud their judgment or their vision when they're seeing something right in front of their eyes. So, you know that when I say certain things about what's happening, people pouring over our southern border, people being involved in smuggling investigations internationally, etc., to some people's whose prejudices are leading the way, That sounds like, okay, Cindy's talking about something that sounds like a Trump supporter. She's talking about the fact that we need border security. Change the channel. I don't want to hear this anymore because it doesn't fit with my bias. And I need to confirm my bias that the good people talking about this are going to tell you that you don't even need a border. We fail to consider that we may be getting fed a bunch of propaganda, and that in our desire to be the good white people, to be the good allies, to be the good revolutionaries, to be good Democrats, or to be whatever it is, a humane, decent human being, that you have to talk a certain way. You need to know the jargon. No border, no wall. Chinga la migra. Abolish ICE. That you have to follow certain ideas, such as the fact that the people with the most moral authority to opine on the topic of immigration and border walls, etc., are the Native Americans. They're the only ones that really have a say, should have a say in who comes here and who doesn't. And who are the natives of the day speaking on the topic? Oh, well, they happen to be the Carrizo Comecrudo tribe and the Tohono O'odham. Listen to them. Everyone in America says, all of the activists in the Border Support Network say, listen to them. Why are they the most important? Nobody explains, but those are the guys. Those are the ones. Those are the people. What are they saying? They're saying no border, no wall. Okay, I'm going to say that too. No border, no wall. What are they saying about ancestors on the border and sacred land and sacred protection? Sounds like Standing Rock. We got to protect the sacred. Okay, that's what we're going to do. I'm an environmentalist, and I believe that, the Native American is the one that has the most visionary and authoritative view on how we should move forward as stewards of this nation. And therefore, what's Myron Dewey saying these days about, what does Vanessa Dundon say about what I should do to save the environment? These are climate refugees? Oh, okay. That's what I'll say now. That's what's been happening to you. Facebook helped it happen. I mean, seriously, most of my neighbors and friends right here in the Fargo-Moorhead area, who I love dearly, who I think of are kind-hearted, intelligent people that want to do right, are falling for a lot of this nonsense, and it hurts. It hurts to see it, because they're donating to phonies like Chase Iron Eyes. They're donating to camps and organizations and GoFraudMe's that are going to hurt the very people they claim they want to help, that are going to fund child trafficking and smuggling, drug trafficking and smuggling, and things that are hurting not a few people, not a once in a while thing. A massive number of people are going to end up getting hurt. And I'm not just talking about American taxpayers, the economy of the United States and Mexico, our politics, all of the things that are going to be affected negatively by the backlash of what is happening with these caravans. I'm talking about the real naive victims of not only the caravan, but also these native tribes. And you know what the saddest part is? These victims of trafficking, victims of smuggling, victims of exploitation along the way, that these groups that are involved in the Border Support Network are creating the perfect environment, creating the perfect storm for this crisis to happen, for our justice department to be unable to handle all of the processing of all of these people's claims for years and years and years, for all of the the backlash against the way in which people are coming in. I can already see in the media, I can already see in the comment sections that we're losing our ability to empathize, that we have apathy toward the people that we see now as being willing hosts to those moving this mass migration. ¿A quién le dan pan que llore? Think about that. The vast majority of the people that this movement, this mass migration movement, is exploiting are poor, really poor people that are desperate for an opportunity. And then somebody offers them the American dream. Literally, you get to go travel for free to the United States. You got a criminal record? Don't matter. Let's go. Let's go. We can get you in. And if you didn't have any better prospects, wouldn't you take a chance? I mean, to the majority of these folks, the worst that's going to happen is they're going to get deported and sent back to their countries. Many of them, even those that commit some form of fraud, are not prosecuted. Even the ones that commit arson in Mexico and damage buildings like the Inami buildings that have now it's just becoming a thing in Mexico that migrants burn the immigration detention centers down. It's just another old Tuesday event in Mexico. People killing immigration agents, just normal now. Robberies, rapes, near the shelters, near the soup kitchens in Mexico. People are selling their homes in Nuevo León, in the state of Nuevo León, around one particular shelter where there are like just droves of people coming through all the time. People are selling their homes now to the pastor that runs the shelter. Irony. Or is it? The pastor that runs the shelter is having people sell their homes to him left and right all around that shelter soup kitchen because they can't leave their homes anymore. They have no security anymore. There's old people around that neighborhood that are saying, where am I going to go? I've lived here my whole life. Now I have to leave my home because of this mass migration? But people don't want to listen to that. My heart goes out to those people. You know, we're not supposed to talk about it, though. We're not supposed to talk about it because it doesn't fit people's narratives. But the truth is that as people lose their empathy for the call them silly, call them gullible, call them naive, call them stupid if you want to. But they are victims of the smugglers. And in the end, they will become victims to a whole host of prey along the way and once inside of the United States. These people and the people of these poor tribes, like the Tohono O'odham tribe, are ripe for the picking and the exploitation of the Border Support Network elite and also of all of the cartel. Organized crime, folks. We'll be talking about all of it here on A Mexican Crossing Lines. If you were just tuning in, I am doing a special show on the Tohono O'odham tribe and their connection to all of this craziness. I know it scares people to listen to stuff about this because they start getting uncomfortable, and some people start talking about genocide, and other people just shut down because they feel too guilty. But I want to ask you to be strong, because we can't have a conversation, we can't learn, and we can't fix things unless we listen and we stay together for the conversation. So let's talk about the White Earth Reservation for just a second, because in my previous show, the New Age Con, I told you how many of these organizational leaders connected to politics, Hollywood, and fame that have funded the people in the border support network and the mobilization of these caravans are wealthy, privileged, politically connected white men. Many of these people support fake shaman and organizations led by people like Winona LaDuke of the Honor the Earth organization that support these fake shaman. In fact, they support them in place of real medicine men. And then it turns out that these fake shaman are bad news. These fake Indians, these fake leaders are bad news that are selling you fake medicine, fake prophecies, fake ceremonies, and they're selling them. They're selling the ceremonies and all the damage that all of that does to the community itself, to the people that are abused by those that they give agency to, that they give platforms and support to. And I got a message after that show from someone that did not want to be named. And they had this to say about the White Earth Land Recovery Project, which is also headed by Executive Director Winona LaDuke of Honor the Earth. And as I have said, it is an organization that has gone through many scandals. This person said, "Good morning. Hearing the expose about Honor the Earth, Michael Dahl. One of the things that has been a matter of contention between White Earth Land Recovery Project and the White Earth Band of Minnesota Chippewa is that the name of her organization, Winona LaDuke's organization, implies that land is being recovered for the White Earth Band." Yeah, it does. I agree. I didn't even know that it didn't mean that. It goes on. That is not true. Les gasp. The land bought on behalf of the White Earth Land Recovery Project is not given to the Minnesota Chippewa Band of Indians. It is held privately by the organization. Whoa, folks. Only after massive tax debt has been accrued has the White Earth Land Recovery Project made any attempt to return any land to the Minnesota Chippewa Indian Band. Duke, your comment.
I didn't know any of this. I didn't know. I always thought White Earth Land Recovery Project was always doing land recovery and giving it back to the band, and I never knew that. It's like, what? And actually, from the behavior we've seen being exposed through the latest lawsuit, it doesn't surprise me that they've been scamming. It doesn't surprise me that they really haven't been doing that correctly. But I always remember, I was on a grant panel, and there was people from their organization asking for money. I think we gave them some money through Headwaters. And they said they got land that went up for sale, and they returned it to the tribe. That was their whole, they always said that they returned it to the tribe. So, seeing this, that they have actually lied about it, I have to check into that a little bit deeper.
Wow. And of course, does anybody hold them accountable?
Nope.
Is there any way to hold them accountable? Apparently not. And you see, this is why it's important to expose what these people do, right? Because it is not good for the people. It is not good for the people. What I think we have to recognize as I go through the show about the Tohono O'odham is that they too, whether there are willing participants and willing victims, the poverty, the extreme poverty and the lack of opportunities makes these, smuggling operation jobs, I guess you would call them, very, very difficult to resist. I would say very difficult to resist for them. Because you will hear in the report that there are a lot of people that get arrested on that reservation for their involvement in trafficking or smuggling. So, I will begin by talking about the moral superiority brought in by this whole recycled prophecy from Standing Rock, the eagle and the condor prophecy. And the posts about the eagle and the condor prophecy started as soon as you started to hear in the fall of 2018 that the caravan was arriving. You can see in this post from that time frame that someone posting with the Tohono O'odham Nation tagged says, can you read that one?
Yep. Does any of the relatives out there reading this know anyone from the Tohono O'odham Nation? I'm trying to reach out to them urgently and immediately. We have a 14,000 plus of our relatives headed our way. This is the time of the eagle and the condor prophecy. It is among us now. Now is the time to unite and stand up. Let's march down and meet them. I'm asking for this to be our meeting ground. It is only reservation in the United States that borders on the Arizona-Mexico land. Who wants to stand? Let's go. This is an urgent warrior call-out, please. Todos estamos relacionados.
We are all related.
We're all related.
Okay, now, let me ask you, what do you think this means? It is all, and then it says, what does it say at the bottom there?
It is all native land.
It's all native land. Okay, now go back to the top there. I want you to leave that on the screen for a second so that I can break down what I just heard. And I want you to tell me what this means to you. Okay? I'm going to read it again. They want to know, and this is in Sells, Arizona. Okay? Hey, does any of the relatives out there know people from the Tohono O'odham Nation? Because we need to urgently and immediately get them involved. 14,000 people. This is the caravan that they're talking about. 14,000 people, and they say of our relatives, because they're all related, right? Are coming our way. Our way. And the next thing is very crucial here. This is the time of the eagle and the condor. Well, we know that the eagle and the condor is the North and the South coming together. So the prophecy is human smuggling with Native Americans in it? Is that what you're trying to say? What the hell does that mean, Duke?
Well, they're saying that they're
14,000 people are coming.
All the migrant caravan people are Native American and related to their tribe. That's what they're saying.
That they're related to the Tohono O'odham?
Yeah, they're all same people.
Duke, there's talking about 14,000 people coming and talking about the prophecy. What the hell does the prophecy have to do with this?
Well, anytime someone from South America or Central America comes north and meets a Native American in the north, that's prophecy. Eagle and condor meet.
No. That's not how the prophecy works. The prophecy already happened at Standing Rock. The prophecy is now being equated to the caravans and the people coming over the border. And this person says, it is among us. Now is the time to unite and stand up. Okay, so what are you supposed to do? You're going to march down and meet them. And they want the land of the Tohono O'odham to be their meeting ground. They want the reservation of the Tohono O'odham to be their place where they meet. It is the only reservation in the United Snakes that borders on Arizona and Mexico land. You see that?
Yeah.
It is the only land in the United States, they said snakes.
Yeah.
And we want this to be the place where everybody's going to meet at. Okay? That's what they're saying. And they're saying we are all related. So, that sounds a lot to me like there's a plan there. And there's a plan with the Tohono. And this is what Jess Weggers sent to me about this. When I started seeing Myron Dewey, and Jess Weggers actually sent me a video of Myron Dewey talking about how they were in Mexico and they were telling people to go to Tijuana, that you needed to take this route to Tijuana. And Jess Wegers sent this message to let me know what he and Mr. Myron Dewey were talking about. He says, Cindy, I kind of heard through the grapevine that you've been speaking about some of the pretend water protectors that have been pulling an Ed Higgins and now are attaching themselves to the migrants trying to come across the border. This is back in December, as you can see. I had a private conversation with Myron Dewey in mid-November about a way to get these people across in a safe way and in a place where they wouldn't be as noticed, and probably offered some type of sanctuary, as most border tribes are supportive of transparent migration due to there being relatives on both sides of the border. I explained there was a possibility of a connection between ones like Tohono O'odham and Salt River Gila River that may be willing to help with things like transport or even eventually jobs. There was an option other than taking these people all the way to California and having them shot at, and it wasn't right for him to withhold information so that there would be a story, because without a story, there is no money. I can't confirm if anyone contacted the Tohono O'odham tribe, but I do have the screenshot of my conversation with Myron. My guess is someone had contacted Tohono tribe. The Tohono O'odham tribe and been refused access. They would have blown that all. And if they had been refused access, they, meaning Myron and his media people, partners, would have blown that all the hell and back. So they would have blown it, out of proportion and let everybody know,
Okay.
These people didn't let us. They wouldn't help. Can you keep reading?
This is the second time Myron has thrown me under the bus, so to speak, but this time he's braved something. I can't understand that word. He might be willing to help with things like transport or even eventually jobs. There's an option other than taking these people all the way to call and having them shot, and it wasn't right for him to withhold information, so that there would be a story. BC, without a story, there is no money. I can't confirm if anyone contacted the TO tribe, but I do have the screenshots of my convo with Myron. My guess is if someone had contacted the TO tribe and been refused access, they would have blown that all to hell and back. This is the second time Myron has thrown me under the bus, so to speak, but this time he's played God with people's lives, not simply inconvenienced by a few cops, and made me look like an ass to some police in a state I'll never go to anyways. This is different. If you want to look at the screenshots, you can have them. And then this is a response. That's the information. Thanks for the information, Jess. It would be very helpful to see the screenshots of the conversation, both for verification as well as to better understand the context of what you discuss. Feel free to send them here or to your email.
Mm-hmm. And then this was sent to me. It says, sure, not a problem. I'll send them here. And boom, they were sent.
Yep.
And now you will get to see all of them.
Cool.
So this is for the first time I am showing the conversation that they had. And we do know that Myron and Evan Duke went and did contact the Tohono O'odham because they posted it on their Facebook page. I showed you a video of them traveling to Arizona. Remember that, Duke?
Mm-hmm.
Well, they took a video of themselves and posted it.
Yeah.
When they went through that uh, border checkpoint where Myron was telling the guy that he was not a U.S. citizen by choice.
Yeah, yeah.
And they made a little video they were so proud of.
Mhm.
Well, here is Myron and Jess's first text. Myron says, thank you, Jess. I'll pass on the information. And Jess says, good luck, brother, and please be safe. And he says, will do. And then next, people, the sooner they can get across the border, the better. And TO might be safest crossing point. Oh my God. You know what I think happened here? What if they're backwards? What if they're backwards? So, let's see. Let me see if I go to the end, what happens. I'm trying. It's a little difficult as I don't read maps. The best I've been able to find is just the general relationship between tribes, but hold on a minute. Oops. To build a wall across their land, so maybe there is a way to find them safe passage through there, and if memory serves, and I will, of course. No? Okay. I don't know. Okay, let's just keep going. Go to number 2. I apologize, folks. I probably should have checked to make sure that they were in order, but I just downloaded them and put them in the order he sent them. The sooner they can get across the border, the better. And Tohono O'odham might be their safest crossing point. That was the first one, right? Third one, between the tribes, but I don't know how much that helps. They have always, as far as I can see, been there for each other, and it looks like the Tohono directing the migrants through to go up through to the Tohono O'odham's land. And so he's saying, directing the migrants through the Tohono O'odham's land. They are people that said they wouldn't allow Trump to build a wall. And then the next one says, I'm trying. It's a little difficult as I don't read maps. The best I've been able to find is just the general relationship between the tribes. But to build a wall across their land, so maybe there's a way. Oh, they're not allowing the Tohono O'odham are not allowing Trump to build a wall across their land. So maybe there is a way to find them a safe passage through there. And if memory serves, and I will, of course, I'm not the person they're going to speak to about something like this. They are much closer than trying to get these families all. If memory serves, and I will, of course, check to be positive, there may be a connection up to Salt River, Gila River, Arizona. Might be a safer plan if we can verify. I'm sorry, these are all out of order, but you get the idea. I'm showing them all to you. They're much closer than trying to get these families all the way up to California. If there's a way to get them a closer, safe crossing, I say that's worth trying.
That was in order.
Myron just spoke with my husband, and he doesn't want to be involved. But he gave his opinion. He thinks the Tohono O'odham people would be the ones to contact. And all the Arizona tribes, as long as it has nothing to do with business. Okay. Myron says, can you find out? And he says, I'm trying. And that was in a conversation they had in November 11th. November 11th. This is like literally half a month after the caravans were arriving in mass in Tijuana. Okay? And it looks like Tohono O'odham is a big supporter of free pass immigration, as they have families on both sides of the border. Frankly, and this is just my... Okay, and as long as it has nothing to do with business, I'll get along. Wonder what that means. As long as it doesn't have anything to do with business, because that's connected to the slide before it. He says, not the one before, the one before that one. See, at the end it says, no, the next one. No. Keep going. Let's go to 16.
All right.
Hi, Myron. I know you're crazy busy. I saw your live feed and wanted to drop a quick message. What about directing the migrants to go up through? And now you know all of them. The Tohono O'odham. Yeah, it was backwards, I think. But also they were mixed up. And I apologize for that. But let me just tell you what happened there. Jess said, hey, why are you guys doing this? And then and Myron said, can you check on it? He's like, I don't think they'll talk to me. And we know that later on, Myron and Evan Duke got a hold of him. One people, one continent, the Tohono reject the border wall. You can see here that was posted by one people, one continent. And of course, it's got the eagle and the condor.
Mm-hmm.
And this is an article about how they rejected the border wall. Here's another post by Border Narcotics in which they talk about how the problem of drug smuggling on this reservation is a problem that happens quite frequently on the Tohono O'odham reservation. It says, this is an especially big problem. This is an article, by the way, in the penalcentral.com. Border Patrol stops smuggling attempts on Tohono O'odham Nation. This is especially a big problem through the Tohono O'odham reservation. It is a well-known fact that a lot of drug and human smuggling into the U.S. and cash weapons and kidnapping, sex trade out of the U.S. is done through the Indian reservations into Mexico. What the story doesn't tell you is if the arrested U.S. citizens are from the reservation or not. But what's your guess, Duke? You think that they're people from the reservation or not?
Probably not.
Probably so, because a lot of their people on the reservation are easy targets for the big dollars, that are given out by the cartel to do this. Here's the article that they link to that shows that this happened in the city of Ajo. Ajo. A-G-O. It means garlic in Spanish. Border Patrol agents arrested 3 U.S. citizens attempting to smuggle 8 Mexican nationals into two separate events on the Tohono O'odham Nation over the weekend. This is an article from May 1st of 2019. Okay? Mm-hmm. Border Patrol agents stopped a sedan for an immigration inspection on a federal route 1 mile east of Organ Pipe Cactus National Monument. You're going to keep hearing these things over and over again, folks. During the inspection, the agents saw 6 individuals inside the vehicle, 5 of which were wearing camouflage. The 5 passengers were found to be illegally present in the U.S. The driver and U.S. citizen were placed under arrest. And here's a picture of the people. The second incident took place after Border Patrol agents conducted an immigration inspection during a vehicle stop of an SUV along Federal Route 1. Following a brief investigation, agents found the driver and passenger to be U.S. citizens attempting to smuggle 3 additional passengers who were illegally present in the U.S. The driver and passenger were also placed under arrest. All 8 passengers were processed for immigration violations, while the United States citizens were charged with human smuggling. This just happened. You're going to hear a lot more of these things, and a lot more of these people are going to get arrested for human smuggling. It's happening. The Border Support Network doesn't want to talk about it, but it is happening. Arizona Bite Me posted about the drug smuggling operation. And this is what they said. Federal agents arrested 11 people on suspicion of supplying drug trafficking scouts. Now, this is a little different, Duke. This isn't smuggling people in your car. This is an accusation of supplying the drug trafficking scouts, the scouts, with food and equipment. Are you hearing this?
Oh, yeah, I'm hearing it.
You can get charged with this, too. If you're out in the desert saying that you're just dropping water, but you're actually doing stuff like this.
Exactly.
You can go to jail, too. Okay? The members of the resupply network are accused of hauling radios, cell phones, batteries, solar panels, food, clothes, toiletries, and other items to the scouts who perch on mountainsides in southern Arizona for weeks or months at a time, according to a 15-page federal complaint unsealed February 8 in U.S. District Court in Tucson. Look at that. Scouts use binoculars and encrypted radios to guide drug and human smugglers past law enforcement officers, particularly in the corridor that runs from the international border through the Tohono O'odham Reservation and on to Phoenix. The 11 people arrested February 3rd are facing charges of conspiracy to distribute marijuana, according to a February 22nd indictment. This is from back in 2017. The important thing is that you see how in this corridor, this is very sophisticated. What they're talking about for their scouts in this area. It's very sophisticated. So the charges came after agents with Homeland Security Investigations Office in Sells, Arizona, launched a probe in 2015 as an organization that smuggled marijuana through the reservation to Phoenix. Of an organization, that was smuggling marijuana. As part of that investigation, HSI agents targeted scouts and their supply networks, according to a complaint. So, that's how they did it before, the authorities. Here's a video that talks about a current investigation. This just came out. I don't know if you guys saw this or heard about this report by ABC, but it talks about the smuggling that is going on the reservation right now. Check it out.
The ABC News exclusive tonight from the southern border. ABC News on the front lines where a major cartel is taking advantage of impoverished Americans, what they are paying them to do. ABC's Dan Harris is right there on the U.S. border as the bust plays out.
We're in the Arizona desert on a Native American reservation. The man in the mask is an undercover federal agent. That is 200 pounds of marijuana, and this is a sting. The agent is posing as a member of the notorious Sinaloa drug cartel, which has for years exploited the impoverished Native American tribe here, enlisting members in their relentless efforts to smuggle drugs into America. In just a few minutes, we're expecting a tribe member to pull up in a vehicle, and he will load 10 bales of marijuana that are out here in the desert with an undercover ICE agent.
Contraband's being loaded into the sedan.
The smuggler's vehicle then taking off, driving further away from the border and deeper into the United States.
I'm going in, guys. We need to go. They're moving right now.
After trailing the vehicle for several miles, the officers move in, stopping the car, arresting the suspects.
The adrenaline of the chase now gives way to the kind of depressing reality of the people who've been arrested who do not appear to be drug kingpins, more likely that they're just people without a lot of options who've gotten co-opted by one of the most powerful drug cartels on earth.
The reservation of the Tohono tribe takes up 60 miles of the U.S.-Mexico border. In March alone, the ICE team seized about 30,000 fentanyl pills and other illegal drugs right here. We drive 100 miles south into Mexico, where the supply chain begins. Here, the cartel pays impoverished migrants, like 17-year-old Elmer, to carry drugs over the border and onto the Arizona reservation.
Estoy esperando cruzar el desierto, pero así con droga otra vez, pues.
The
Como
desert,
muchos se
waiting
tiran
as a
aquí
drug
de
mule to
Guerrero,
pay for the coyote. I don't have money to pay for a coyote.
As one young man waits to commit a crime, back on the reservation, we watch as another young man, an American, is arrested.
Do you want to talk to Grandma before we leave? Yeah. Okay. So he has a warrant for his arrest. For conspiracy to smuggle narcotics.
And Dan Harris is back in New York tonight after his reporting trip. And Dan, we were talking about this earlier. As long as you have these impoverished communities on the border, don't you run the risk of having folks who are desperate lured in by these cartels?
I mean, that's exactly right. As long as you have this level of poverty paired with America's seemingly insatiable appetite for illegal drugs, it's really hard to see how this problem goes away.
No, this is incredible footage, and I know you're going to have much more coming up tonight, Dan. Thank you. And again, Dan's full report is reporting from the border later tonight on Nightline after Kimmel right here. Dan will be watching.
Wow.
So, this is what I'm talking about, folks. They decided to go and work. The Border Support Network people is led by Antifa leader and white man du jour, Evan K. Duke III. The Indigenous Life Movement page is led by Jim Petruzzi, an Italian Indian wannabe dude, and Doug McLean. These are well-meaning white dudes from the progressive that, you know, want to do the environmentalist thing and also have an Indian name and, you know, practice spirituality. And it's all part of the, you know, new age hippiocrites. But the thing is that it can be harmful, and it is harmful to the degree that you are working with in a tribe, and this has been going on for a long time now, but this Border Support Network leadership is also exploiting the extreme poverty of this tribe. They're laying the groundwork for all of this to simply, you know, funnel in all of these people through a very, very dangerous place for very, very dangerous reasons.
I'm like, this has been going on for a long time. You know, it's like this just didn't start happening, you know. And these guys went in there and they looked at this corridor and they're like, well, I got an idea. Let's basically set up, you know, camps all along the corridor. You know, and you know, smuggle people through. We got, you know, we got a history. We have cartels in there. We got the drug smuggling. We got people crossing there already, and they've been doing busts. But they went in there and they started setting that up and trying to take that territory, whatever they were going to do, and put it under the migrant caravan support. You know, the borderland support. You know, all the things they came up with to do this. To me, I'm just like, what? Because it just, you know, it makes more sense now, especially their, you know, current fundraising efforts, talking about needing materials and supplies for all the camps they have along that corridor, which means the scouts, which means the little sections where people are going to hide. I mean, my God, you know, this is, I'm really surprised that they haven't, you know, been run out of there by the cartels. But, you know, who knows what's going on with that? We have to look at Evan Duke's basic, it's not an indictment, but it's an investigation that he's accused of selling guns to them. So there's deals going on. Amazing.
I don't think it's just, you know, people. I told you that there's sex trafficking going on. I told you that there is weapons going. You got a terrorist who's special. Guerrero Ulloa is one of the people leading all this nonsense in Mexico, through Mexico, along with Irina Mujica. And you got these people that are connected to Pueblos Sin Fronteras that include terrorists whose forte in the past, when they were blowing up planes and kidnapping politicians in Honduras, was to traffic weapons and people through refugee camps. Sound familiar?
Yep.
So of course they're just taking advantage of what already has been done and what people are already doing. But it's evil. It's evil, don't you think?
Oh yeah.
To do that. So like I said, I know that a lot of people are going to start losing their empathy because of the involvement of these tribes in the Border Support Network. As you can see, they've got native faces out there in front that are, fist up, acting like this is the greatest time of their life as they go on these drug-fueled binges at these border camps and fly their drones around and throw up their PayPals and their Venmos and their GoFraudMes every 5 seconds on live streams they constantly do. But the truth is that the vast majority of the tribes that they claim to be representing or that they're fronting for are impoverished and invisible, and these people don't truly represent them. And what they're doing to their own tribe and with their own tribe's name and on their own tribe's land is going to end up hurting their own tribe. Also that a few people can get some money.
Yeah.
So that a few people can get some money and a whole bunch more other people get hurt and a bunch more other people go to jail. And it's not in the people that are maneuvering all of this. You think Myron Dewey is going to go to jail? No, he's married to Deborah Parker. She's up there with the politicians. He's going to be all right. Well, maybe Myron Dewey could go to jail. He could get in trouble to some degree. But people like him aren't going to get in trouble. You think Winona LaDuke is going to get in trouble?
No.
You think fake Indian Jim Grey Wolf Petruzzi is going to get in trouble? Or Doug McLean?
Nope.
No. It's going to be the achichincles of these puppet masters that are going to go to jail. It's going to be innocent people that are going to end up going to jail. This is the link to the article in ABC. So we shared it with you so you can take a look at the whole thing for yourself. The article that it was written about this news report has a lot of other information about the Sonoran Desert, the Tohono O'odham, tribe. In one of the quotes, it says from David Garcia, a tribal elder who spoke to ABC News, "We are killing our own people. We have to do something. And if we don't do anything, then we are just as much the problem as well." This is, the article starts off by saying that buffeted by powerful forces on both sides of the border and corrupted by complicity, some leaders fear that the crisis facing their nation is an existential one. And then he says, we are killing our own people. I agree with this tribal elder. I think a lot of the people that are the faces are the New Age cons, like Vanessa Dundon, like Myron Dewey, and they don't have the best interest of these tribes or the native people in the migrant caravan who they're making money off of for themselves, for their own pseudo-activism. Over the course of a year-long investigation by ABC News, traveling in both Arizona and Mexico to conduct interviews with law enforcement, cartel, soldiers, tribal members on both sides of the border, and compiling a detailed portrait of the Tohono O'odham Nation and the challenges that are facing it. This is the report that is going to appear on Nightline. I really want to see that. It sounds like it's going to be great. Anyway, it goes on saying that, amid a fierce debate about the border between Donald Trump and Mexico, country of Mexico. He says, there's a quote by a pastor in the reservation's largest towns, Sells, Arizona. That's by John J. Juan, who's saying, I'm sorry for my grandchildren, he said. I worry for all the grandchildren on the Otham Nation. Standing on Baboquivari Peak, one of the most sacred places to the Tohono Otham, tribal elder Garcia revealed a harsh truth about the people he was chosen to lead. It is no secret, Garcia said, that a lot of our tribal members are involved in the smuggling of migrants and drugs. He's being honest.
Mm-hmm.
It is no secret. Everybody knows it. And then the Sinaloa cartel, one of the most powerful criminal enterprises, is taking advantage of the endemic poverty on this reservation, hiring tribal members as spotters, stash house operators, and transporters. Garcia's nephew, Matthias, lived in an area of Mexico that operated as a staging ground for much of the cartel's cross-border smuggling. Stores cater to migrants preparing to make the dangerous journey, selling, among other necessities, slippers with special soles on the shoes that do not leave footprints.
Wow.
Matthias would be a prized collaborator because his tribal status allows him to cross the border freely. But he has refused the cartel's latest offer. Someone from one of the groups asked me if I could drive a truck with a hidden compartment into the reservation and drop it off, Matthias told ABC. And they were willing to pay me $10,000 for a 2-hour shift. What do you think of that, Duke?
Jesus.
$10,000 for a 2-hour shift.
Yep. Pretty lucrative.
It's $5,000 an hour.
Mm-hmm.
That's a lot of money an hour.
Yeah, it is.
For many tribal members on the reservation, there were more than 40% of people living below the poverty line. The temptation is too great. Quote, whether it's my house or whichever house, you can't go very far without finding another house where someone's either been arrested, is involved, or has been involved in that type of activity, Pastor Juan told ABC News. It shouldn't be that way. Juan knows how the enticement of easy money can lead to trouble. He used to run drugs on the reservation himself, and he fears that his children and grandchildren, in the absence of other opportunities, could stray down that path as well. So the guy that is saying, this is really, really bad, it shouldn't be like this, everybody should try to avoid this because it's super terrible for our people, also used to do the thing that's terrible for
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
He says, I know personally, when you go down that road and then you're caught, then you carry this thing called a felony around for the rest of your life. That itself closes doors. So now you are forever in a cycle of poverty.
Mm-hmm.
In a cycle of poverty because of a felony, because you wanted to, carry water for the drug cartel. Except it's not water. He became a pastor, but he was a smuggler, this pastor. Matt Hall, a supervisor, special agent for ICE task force that operates on the Tohono O'odham Nation, knows the problem is a complex one. He started his career on a small Native American reservation in Washington, giving him perhaps a more nuanced perspective on tribal communities than most in law enforcement. I think, quote, I think that there is a very deep-rooted involvement in smuggling. I think that it's gone on for generations. So there are a lot of people that get involved in it, Hall told ABC News. Not only are we dealing with border issues, but we really have to balance the sovereignty, the culture, and all of those things that come with being on the reservation. That balance is, to say the least, delicate, and the significant federal presence on the reservation feels to some like an occupation, creating deep resentment among tribal members. Ofelia Rivas, for example, just a few hundred yards from the border her entire life, and she said her community feels trapped by the Mexican cartel on one side and U.S. law enforcement on the other. We are under siege, Rivas told ABC News. We are always under constant surveillance, and also it makes us feel like we're criminals on our own land and that we're trespassing on our own land. She has endured harassment by border agents who believe that she was an illegal immigrant, but Trump's proposed border wall would be intolerable. They're proposing this wall. It's going to be right here in my backyard, and it's going to force me to move from here where I was born. So, but smuggling drugs kind of makes you a target of drug enforcement on your reservation, because that's where it's happening.
Mm-hmm.
Like what? If you're smuggling people and drugs through this area, where do you think that the law enforcement is going to look for the drugs and the people?
Right there in that area.
What do you make of this?
What?
This is stunning, because it's not just the ACE agent saying that this is a generational problem. It is the people in the interviews from the community themselves as well.
Yeah, and people are stuck in it. There's nothing happening, and they've been stuck in it. And it's been perpetuated and continued. So it's like I'm still amazed that I didn't know anything, that these guys picked that area, and then did it. Right up front, we're going to go do this. And they've declared that they're their own tribe, and they're raising money, and it's a big resistance camp with
You mean the Carrizo Come Crudo tribe?
Yeah.
Yeah, because they're not a federally recognized tribe, but this one is. That's why they have this giant land of reservation. It's like 40 miles along the border.
Okay.
And it is the third largest reservation in the United States.
Okay.
The third largest.
Wow.
And then it's right there on the border. It's the only one on the border
Mm-hmm.
with Arizona. But it's not just that. It's also the location of where Irineo Mujica's business is, of Pueblo Sin Fronteras, that he was recently in. And it's also where that lady recently got arrested for human smuggling. She was accused of human smuggling. If you go to the article link here, or the post by Pueblo Sin Fronteras about this article in The Intercept, Pueblo Sin Fronteras said this appalling level of politically motivated criminalization and intimidation, completely without reason, by the Department of Homeland Security officers at the border against immigrant rights defenders is absolutely unacceptable. The Trump administration is encouraging an increasingly brazen sense of impunity for racist, anti-immigrants law enforcement officers who form part of what was already a corrupt, abusive agency. We stand in solidarity with Anna Adelstein and all who are targeted by Department of Homeland Security's for their human rights work. That's what they're calling it. That's the ticket. Here's the article in the Intercept that they're linking to. This is the organization of Irineo Mujica and Alex Mensing, Gina Caribo, and all of these other people that we've been talking about that have been getting arrested in Mexico, deported back to their countries, questioned by Interpol, and investigated for human smuggling. Same people. In this other article in the Intercept that is titled, "The Fourth Amendment does not apply here." This is the article that was just in the links there. U.S. border guards arrest Arizona immigrant rights volunteer. It says, that an advocate of the U.S. Mexico border was arrested and accused of illegal alien smuggling. That's what I said. See how they call it human rights work,
Yeah.
but the authorities call it human smuggling? And it says, as she accompanied, you mean escorted?
Mm-hmm.
She was being an escort?
Yep.
They're called human smugglers by the law. As she accompanied an asylum seeker to a port of entry in southern Arizona, Ana Adelstein, a volunteer at Casa del Migrante, a Mexican shelter in the Mexican town of Sonoita, Mexico, which is on the border of Arizona with Lukesville, Arizona, folks, said U.S. Customs and Border Protection officials told her that, quote, the Fourth Amendment doesn't apply here and that the border is different, as she was taken into custody. Adelstein was detained for more than 4 hours, and though she was not charged, she said CBP officials specifically told her that she was being placed under arrest, cited U.S. laws prohibiting human smuggling, denied her any access to an attorney, and informed her that investigators with the Department of Homeland Security would be following up with her as part of an ongoing investigation. Uh-huh. By the way, this article talks about the location in Arizona. Let's see what I can find in here. They're saying that this took place near Ajo, Arizona. So later down in the article, and remember I was telling you those things that we showed you is exactly the location. Ajo.
Mm-hmm.
Ajo. You're going to keep hearing Ajo again.
Oh, great.
The pair was taken into a CBP building. The woman was the accompaniment for an undocumented person that came in. So both of them were taken. The pair were taken into a CBP building. Adelstein asked repeatedly if she was being placed under arrest. Yes, I'm arresting you, she recalls Williams telling her. I know you're recording this. You can record this. I don't care. Adelstein was not recording. She did not bring her phone to the port. Adelstein said Williams accused her of illegal alien smuggling and that a second officer made specific reference to 1324, the criminal statute for human smuggling, the same statute under which Scott Warren, a humanitarian aid volunteer in nearby Ajo, Arizona, is currently facing 20 years in prison. So she says, you are smuggling. You can be arrested for this. Adelstein recalls being told, you don't know the law. So, there was the mention of Ajo. There was the mention of this person, Scott Warren, of No More Deaths. And then, of course, we see Pueblos Sin Fronteras Intercept article on Sonoita. And in this article, this article about the arrest of this immigrant volunteer was right there near the shelter, near the border crossing. I already showed you that. I thought I was. I'm behind. Now I'm going to show you the video from Univision in which Irina Mujica is talking in. I'm going to have to translate this because it's Spanish, so you'll have to turn the volume for her down and me up probably a little bit.
We'll see.
Okay, here we go. Let's try it. He has to take care of his family business, transporting people across the border. Lukeville, Arizona. Do it again, one more time.
Right.
So I'm going to translate
Short.
what it says. And there, at the border crossing between Sonoita, Mexico, and Lukeville, Arizona.
Okay.
Here we go. Listen for Sonoita.
Activismo pues debe atender el negocio familiar de transporte turístico transfronterizo. Y aún ahí, en el cruce entre Sonoita, México y Lukeville, Arizona, dice, sufre represalias.
Did you hear it that time? Lukeville, Arizona, Sonoita, Mexico.
Yep.
This is from the recent Univision show that I told you felt like they ripped off a lot of my content.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
And made all the human smugglers seem like they could possibly be being mischaracterized in the media unfairly. Even though I was able to find out, and I don't have all the resources Univision does, that there is absolute proof that they were helping people cross illegally. Of course, and that they work with the people that are crossing people illegally. I showed you. And Alex Mensing knows that, and Irineo Mujica knows that, and all of the people they work with, like Ulises, they all know that what they're doing is human smuggling and that they are taking advantage of people, but they don't care. They want to call it humanitarian aid because it makes them feel better about what they're doing and who they're doing it with. Here is Alex Mensing of Pueblos Sin Fronteras, one of the groups being investigated, tagging the No More Deaths group that is currently facing, a group of their volunteers are facing jail time for their involvement in human smuggling or aiding and abetting it. And Alex, in this post on Facebook, calls to action saying that they want people to join Pueblos Sin Fronteras in solidarity with No More Deaths, and calling the newly appointed U.S. Attorney Michael Bailey and demanding that he drop all the charges against Scott Warren.
Oh, yeah.
Because he is facing up to 20 years in prison for providing humanitarian aid.
Mm-hmm.
I think that their authorities are calling that human smuggling.
Yep.
But they say humanitarian aid. 2 migrants in one of the deadliest stretches of desert, la 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 la. Okay? So we keep hearing the same thing from the same group of people and how they present what is happening out there. And how are they talking about the tribe? Not like this ABC News article where the people that are being interviewed from the tribe on both sides of the border talk about the incredible amount of poverty and desperation, and how generationally there are people there that are into smuggling people and crossing drugs, and that like, what did the report say? 40% of the people that live on the tribe in the reservation have had some kind of contact with law enforcement for smuggling.
Yep, exactly.
Instead, they have a different message. And they're always going to be talking about how that is, sovereignty, and they have a right because they're protecting sacred land and they don't want a wall there, et cetera, et cetera. But they don't really talk about all of the aspects of what's involved here with the Tohono. In this Intercept article, another of the Intercept articles in which they're talking about the arrest of Scott Warren, it says, as volunteers recovered a record number of human remains in the refuge in 2017, officials issued new guidelines explicitly criminalizing activity that could prevent further deaths. Warren's trial in the littering case begins on Monday in Tucson. I think this writer is a little bit biased. He calls it a littering case. These folks are being investigated for a lot more than littering, I can tell you that. Felony trial scheduled for May 29th. The clock is ticking. We first met last May at a coffee shop in Ajo. There it is again.
Yep.
Warren wore blue Levi's, a Western shirt, and worn hiking shoes. His chin-length brown hair pulled back tight. Under normal circumstances, he would have been celebrating. He just finished his first semester teaching at the Tohono O'odham Community College, the school for residents of the Tohono O'odham Reservation on the highway. So this guy works with the tribe. The guy that got arrested, in conjunction with something to have to do with some smuggling of people, happens to be working with the tribe that has the worst problem with smuggling amongst their people. Just so happens, I'm just putting this into context for you with some real information. The school for residents on the Tohono O'odham Reservation up the highway. It has been a tough semester, Warren acknowledged, smiling as he settled into a seat in the back corner of the coffee shop. Quote, I had the first day of class and then I got arrested the next day. Still, it wasn't all bad. Warren spoke fondly of his students at the reservation, all 2 of them. They helped keep things in perspective, but there was no way of denying that passing through the border detention system had left a cloud over a place Warren had come to love. Okay. So now you have a little bit more context about who Warren is and how he's connected to this tribe that's working with the Border Support Network, founded and run by Antifa. Antifa, anarchist, anti-fascists with violent and troubled pasts, like Evan K. Duke. And here we see Evan talking about logistics having to do with the Border Support Network. Can you read that one, Duke?
Rick Waldrop. Question, are all Solidarity caravans going to Tohono only? Are there caravans or sufficient numbers of immigrants, asylum seekers in Mexico along the border in South Texas to merit efforts to stand in solidarity with them as well? Thanks. And Lolly
By
B.
the way, this post was made on November 20, 2018, shortly after the caravans arrived. Right?
Right. And
Go ahead.
Lolly B says, what about Tucson also? Rick says, Nogales. Rick says, El Paso. Julius Child, Donna, Texas. Tambien, that's the other big one.
Okay, hold on now. We have to tell people that are listening who Lolly B is, because Lolly B is of the Border Support Network. She's one of the people that went down there with Myron Dewey as a translator, as some kind of a healer. And she was one of the people that, because of her Spanish-speaking skills, was volunteering with Al Otro Lado, along with Jake Lee Harris, to give people to coach people from the legal advice that was being given out by lawyers in Mexico, in San Diego. From San Diego in Tijuana.
Yep.
Dave Gaskin is another person that was with the Border Support Network that traveled in Mexico, that had been living in Mexico, and that in fact was with Myron Dewey in Mexico City when they first flew there, when he first went there to meet with the caravan, to join the caravan. And he speaks next. What does he say?
Need to get up to Juarez, Dan Gaskin says. So they're coordinating. They're coordinating this thing for sure.
And someone else says,
David Gaskin, are you in touch with Joe Palouf?
He's one of the leaders of the camp creators, the one that was raising the money for the camp in Texas, Joe Plouffe.
Yep, and he says he could be a good contact for you.
And then Evan speaks up. Evan Duke is the founder, along with Myron Dewey, and one of the people that maintains and administrates the Caravan Support Network.
And he says there are several other caravans on their way. Wall construction, a pipeline being planned, and many other issues that indicate a prolonged struggle is growing along the border, where we've agreed to establish a semi-permanent base camp near the Texas border on indigenous land. Wow.
We know that that's Selmisek and Yauli and all this other crap, because that's what they did. That's what they are doing. That's what they did. And he goes on.
He says, with rapidly changing circumstances on the ground, the Caravan Support Network has decided to establish an additional base camp near San Diego, California.
They've now changed their name to the Border Support Network.
Yep. Our forward camps will serve as a base of operations for water protectors, veterans, social and environmental justice activists, and peoples of all demographics who wish to help along the border.
Including people like Louis Monsiváis, who says he's a human smuggler.
Yep.
Jamie Skapowski, who has since this post most recently said she was going to sue us for defamation.
Oh, yeah, I remember her. She's like, can you message me on Signal? Because they're talking a little bit too out there in the open here.
Mm-hmm.
And then she says, Jumper Wood Smoke
Tags.
Summers. Tags.
And then again, David Gaskin speaks.
Yes, as my bro in Juarez said, it's more chill over there for migrants. Yeah, right.
And Evan says,
the Carrizo Kamacrudo tribe is of Texas, of Texas on board.
So we're working with the Carrizo Come Crudo tribe. They're on board, and as you've seen, all of this has come to fruition.
Errol Medicine and the chairman of the Carrizo are reaching out currently to the Tohono O'odham and Kickapoo, among others, to form a border alliance to host these permanent camps, villages all along the border.
Right. I wish this had been expanded more.
Yep.
But what I want you to notice is that he mentions those two tribes by name that we know are involved. And of course, he says that there will be more.
Yep.
And then he continues after Nora Hansel talks about going to Austin, or being in Austin and not being able to get to Tijuana, but she could potentially get to Texas at some point, or if there is any other on-the-ground support she can offer here, like if any asylum seekers are arriving here, then I most definitely will. And Evan says back to her, Nora, our timeline to begin the Texas camp is November 28-30. It is being planned as a permanent support camp on Indigenous land. Feel free to call me when you have time. I can elaborate. I'm very busy now, but we'll return your call in the next day or so. And then he gives his number. And then right below that, there is a map.
Okay.
He shows you a map along the border of all of the different tribes they're going to try to work with. So they have their tribal connect. And you see the Tohono O'odham and the Kickapoo, and there is no, Carrizo Come Crudo tribe, because they're not a federally recognized tribe with land. Let's see if there's anything else. Chella Helm says, all this time, all large caravans have made their way to Tijuana. News on the ground will change midway and will receive news of off the ground when they reach MC or Jalisco, Mexico City. The other border cities are seeing typical traffic for entry. They were so disorganized when they did all this, Duke.
Yeah.
I'm surprised there was not a much bigger mess, but they're horribly prepared. This next slide shows you a post by Evan Duke where he promotes the Tohono O'odham Nation and their sovereignty, and it was created by AJ Plus, which is Al Jazeera Plus, which has been carrying a lot of water for this border support network group. But it was posted via Indigenous Media Rising. And just to remind y'all what's Indigenous Media Rising looks like these days, here's their Facebook page again. It has that running video in the background that says, families belong together and abolish ICE. I showed you before. And of course, you know that the Families Belong Together group is the group that is led by Paola Mendoza, the Colombian actress. This is the group that has the co-founder, one of the founders of the Women's March, that works closely with Linda Sarsour of the Women's March. Linda Sarsour and the PR person working on Bernie Sanders' campaign, Winnie Wong, who also helped to raise money for the Caravan Support Network, along with their Hollywood allies. And so I found that very interesting, that they're all connected with Indigenous-led themes, Indigenous-led pages, or so they appear to be.
Yeah.
And this is another post that was made in the Border Support Network page recently, founded by Evan K. Duke. That's of the new Sanctuary Coalition. It was reposted by Heather Rind. And it says that this is a statement of the hashtag Cabeza 9 defendants, who are also people that got arrested from the No More Deaths movement. Okay? Can you read this one, Duke?
Yeah. March 1st, 2019. Firstly, want to acknowledge that we are standing on occupied land of the Tohono O'odham people. Otham people. Let us not forget the illegality of the United States of America on indigenous territory and the way the U.S. has ravaged Central America, forcing dysphoria. Furthermore, this government has considered slavery and genocide as legal for hundreds of years. We may have been found guilty, but the real crime is the government's deliberate policy to use death as deterrent at the U.S.-Mexico border. The criminalization of those acting in solidarity is a classic example of the ramping of an authoritarian regime. The humanitarian work that has ultimately brought us here today will continue to address the border crisis until there are no more deaths. We refuse to stand by and watch silently as the United States becomes more and more deeply authoritarian. This is something that affects and should concern us all. The four of us want to thank everyone in our families and communities here and across the world for their unbelievably wonderful support and solidarity. We also want to thank our team of lawyers and those of you here today who are prioritizing telling this story. #No more deaths.
And you know who else has joined the mix of the lawyers that are jumping into the fray along with Al Otro Lado and some of these other more prominent groups that are now joining in with these tribes? Because, of course, that's how they would come into the mix. It's none other than the Water Protector Legal Collective. Yep.
Oh, okay.
So you're going to see them again. And we already know what they're capable of and how they work. So the article that I have a link to here for you that they put the link to that they were talking about these other guilty verdicts happened on January 18th, and the verdict was by Judge Bernardo Velasco convicting No More Deaths volunteers on all their charges. So Natalie Hoffman, Una Holcomb, Madeline Hughes, and Zakila Orozco were charged with entering a national wildlife refuge without a permit and abandoning of property. And Ms. Hoffman was also charged with including operating a motor vehicle in a wilderness area, all misdemeanor offenses. A date for sentencing will be within the next 10 days. Duke, as soon as, and they got a 6 months, their sentencing could be 0 to 6 months of time in federal prison and a fine of up to $500. This all happened in the Cabeza Prieta National Wildlife Refuge, a vast remote area south of Ajo, Arizona. Okay? Same place. Same place, same tribe. And the people that are connected to the tribe, like this group, all are involved, all are getting arrested, all are being questioned about their involvement in the smuggling. And that, what's the next one? The Tohono border Mason Bobby Leonard posts. These are all posts made by Mason Bobby Leonard, one of the drone pilots in the Border Support Network page, just so you can see. And I'm sure that if I go through, I can find a whole bunch of posts by a lot of these people from the Border Support Network where they're promoting their connections to the Tohono O'odham tribe. And that includes Evan Duke, of course. Here's his post. But this was on Facebook. You can see he posted this as he arrived at the community college where this guy, Scott Warren, was teaching in this location near Ajo, Texas, where Evan Duke and Myron Dewey went to meet with these people.
Oh, yeah.
To work out a deal, to work with them. And you know who else posted about this? Doug McLean. Doug McLean, moderator with Jim Petruzzi, fake Indian, of the Pipeline page, where he posts a video of National Guard that were going to the border crisis on the Tohono O'odham land on November 14 of 2018. And I'm not going to play you the video clip because it doesn't actually It's really loud machinery, but
Okay.
it says that the person that posted it from Indivisible Tohono basically had this conversation with a National Guardsman. He says, "Are you guys heading to California?" And the National Guard ignores him. And then he goes, "Are you guys heading to California where the real emergency is? You know, the fires. That's where you guys are heading, right? To help with the fires?" And the National Guard says,
No, ma'am, we're heading to the border.
and he goes, "But people are dying, losing their homes, and they need help. They're using prisoners to help fight those fires, but they really need you guys." And the National Guardsman said,
No, ma'am. Excuse me, ma'am.
and then the military convoy started heading to the border, going through tribal lands from Tucson to Lukesville, Arizona, monitoring the border. 10 additional patrols, Black Hawks, would be deployed out of the Davis Monthan Air Force Base. This is real. This will be the excuse for permanent placement. Lots of the border states removed the National Guard.
Yeah.
And now you know why that was really, really stupid. So, and why, the concern with the lands and the reservation of the Tohono O'odham are so great, and the connections to the Border Support Network so concerning. And I will be bringing you more reporting about how all of these encampments and the border will be the next hot point for border security for America. Thank you for listening and sharing a Mexican Crossing Lines with your hosts, Cindy Gomez-Schempp.
And Duke Gomez-Schempp.
You've been listening to 88.1 FM, KPPPLP Fargo Moorhead, where we are adding local color to your airwaves. And we thank you for being with us. Buenas noches.